Stop your video there, Amy. Are we going? Wow, what an amazing theme song written by Emmett Hall, a very talented musical human. My name is Ryan Beil. This is the Faculty Hour. This is the Blind Tiger Comedy's Faculty Hour. What is it, you ask? Well, it's an hour, a little bit less, like 45, like a TV hour, about 45. Where about 45 minutes, where I, Ryan Beil, interviewed different members of the Blind Tiger faculty, Blind Tiger faculty, who teach a lot of people in Vancouver, BC, improv and sketch. It's a little get to know you session. Then we talk about kind of like one main topic, comedy, philosophy, improv, doodads. Take some questions from you if there are any of you out there, and then we call it a day. Also some fun stuff, some hypotheticals and fun little questions along the way. It's a podcast you can watch and listen at the same time too. And joining me is, of course, my sound technician, my humble sound guy, Peter Carlone. Peter, how are you?
I'm the greatest.
You're the greatest in the world.
You called me humble.
Oh, I see. You're trying to break out of that mold.
Trying to break out of the mold a bit. I'm doing good. The stream is doing good.
What do you mean by that? Is that a coded message?
7 people watching. And
7? Yes!
And it says, excellent strength.
Okay. That's the stream like the bandwidth?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess the connection is excellently strong.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Great. Well, the first episode we had Caitlin Howden. That was a joy. It was an evening episode. We talked about bombing and failure. But we tried to put a positive spin on it. The second episode, we're only on episode 3. The second episode had Tasman Cody Van Rassel, and we talked a lot of shop. But we focused on, for our main topic, suggestions in improv. You like them? You don't like them? How do you feel about them? What's a bad one? What's a good one? It was kind of cool. But now we're going to shoot the show into another level because we got an amazing guest, Blind Tiger faculty member, and awesome improviser, creator, performer. Please welcome to the stream, Amy Shostak.
Woo. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Amy. How are you? Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
I love the knickknacks behind you on your cupboard.
Yes. The place came with this shelf, and it's like, that's the only thing it's good for. It's so shallow, you can just put knickknacks on it.
It is a knickknack shelf. It's for kitsch and for things you want to display. Trophies? Could you fit a trophy on there?
A small trophy. Mm-hmm. A short little trophy.
But humble trophy.
Yeah, a humble trophy, exactly.
Well, say hi to Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Because you can't see Peter. It's just good to remind people that he's there. Okay,
Lurking.
Amy, hi. How you doing? Let's do a little quick check-in. Hello, life is going okay? You're doing stuff with Blind Tiger and the digital school?
Yes.
You're holding up? You're doing good? Things are okay?
Yeah, I think I started quarantining a little bit earlier than everyone else. So I think I'm on like day 34, day 35.
You got a head start.
Got a head start, not knowing I would never come out of it.
And what a head start.
But yeah, it's a strange time, as you know, but I am definitely like enjoying the connection we have through our school. And like every time I get to teach a class, I'm teaching a solo improv class. That's very fun. And every time I leave that class, I'm like, just filled with inspiration and joy. And so it's like these little sparkles of kind of creativity in my life really do make a difference for me.
Huge difference. When you say solo improv class, is that a one-on-one class or a class about doing solo improv?
It's a class about doing solo improv. I think there's 8 or 9 participants, and we all do solo exercises.
It's been so friggin' interesting doing improv on Zoom, and especially the classes. I'm teaching a character class, which focuses on like a group meeting, like an improvised group meeting, using the technology at hand as the sort of medium for the improv. And I always leave that class going like, wow, that's rad.
Yeah.
Surprisingly so rad.
Yeah. We've been like experimenting a little bit with the camera, like entering, leaving, getting close, being far away.
That was such a light bulb in my head the other day. And I think a bunch of people mentioned it to me and I was like, oh yeah. Like I was so sort of like, I'm doing improv. I'm doing it as if I was on the stage, you know, forgetting that like, why not? Like, yeah, like play with subtleties, use the camera, props you have lying around. What the hell? Like there's so much you can do. Yeah.
I did this workshop online a few weeks ago for this group in Germany called Improv Fest Online. Cool. They're organizing like international workshops, and my workshop was all about like improvising in your home, like using objects, using spaces in your home. And it was super interesting. And like, it was the first time I had done it. But I feel like there's something there.
Yeah. I feel like when the dust settles, and it will, I'm an optimist, and we can get back to like improv as we knew it. Improv as we are doing it right now will retain something from it. It'll like, I think it's really interesting. But let's not get too far into the discussion. Oh my gosh, I just like talking with Amy. It's very fun and a fruitful conversation. But we should do a get to know you, because that's kind of part of the show, is to get to know the faculty in a sort of a loose, fun way, not too deep, but not too shallow, just right. You know, kind of in the middle. So Amy Shostak, tell us a little bit. Where are you from? Where were you born? Where were you raised? Anything you want to share as far as like the genesis of Amy?
Wow. Born and raised in Edmonton, Alberta.
Here we go.
Hello. Only place I ever lived until I moved to Vancouver 5 years ago.
Wow, cool. Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, grew up in a blue collar-ish middle class home, and started improvising in high school in grade 12.
How did you find improv in grade 12? Was it with a tournament of sorts, or was it just what was going on?
Well, this is actually kind of a funny story, because we both know Alistair Cook, who
we do.
Ran the Canadian Improv Games. And I remember he came to our school and he pitched us on the Canadian Improv Games. Right. But we were from Edmonton, and Rapid Fire Theatre, which is a long-running improv comedy theater there, they had a tournament called the Nose Bowl, which is a theater sports tournament for high school kids. And Alistair came to our high school, and after he left, we were all like, why would we do that? Like, we want to do the Nose Bowl. Like, it's cool. Like, why would we do CIG? And now it's like, CIG is a national tournament. It's very cool. I don't know why my school was just like, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Holding your nose up. Interesting.
So snobby, but anyway.
But theater sports had such like a tradition in Alberta, right? Like, you know, like and sometimes like, obviously I think the people watching this show will understand the distinction between the two, but it's fun to like, just in case someone stumbles onto this from out of nowhere, often people like call improv theater sports and theater sports improv, and they are the same thing, but theater sports is a form developed by Keith Johnstone in which you do improv, is sort of the distinction. Yes?
Totally. Yeah. And I was in grade 12. I had been taking drama classes, and my drama teacher, she was like, you should be on the improv team. And in our drama classes and in our musicals and stuff, I was always like in the background. I was always part of the chorus. I was like a maid polishing a banister, or like doing a box step. And she was just like, you should be on the improv team. And I was definitely like the fourth, you know, I was the filler.
You're also there. Yes.
But that improv team was so great. And we got to go to the Nose Bowl finals, which was really special. And actually, I was on that team with Matt Sherman, who's now the artistic director at Rapid Fire.
And you were the former artistic director of Rapid Fire Theatre.
Yes. Isn't that
strange? I just wanted to jump in and say that because we mentioned it a couple times, and that's so friggin' cool, because it's such an amazing company, and as the improv that happens there, I look up to and love, and you were at the helm of that for many years.
Yes. And
how many years?
I was AD for 6 years.
6 years.
Yep. And I joined the company in 2002 and was there until 2015.
Wow.
So that's a long time.
That's a long time.
It's so strange to think about, like, and I'm sure that's the same for you. It's like my growth as a human happened through improv.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange when you take a step back and like kind of like see the parallels of the different aspects of who you are as a human being, and how improv is like, I'm in there too. Like, yeah,
totally.
It's everywhere.
And I just think about like how shy I was coming out of high school, and then just gaining confidence, and you know, like it's it's so formative for me. I don't know where I'd be if I hadn't done improv in high school. Like
me neither. I actually don't know either. I don't know either because I kind of found improv before drama, really. Like it was sort of like it steered me towards being an actor. But like I don't know if I would have I don't know. I'd probably be some unhappy lawyer. Yeah, but a bad lawyer, like just bad at it.
Really stressed and
yeah,
sweaty.
Stressed and bad and like getting disbarred.
Yeah, I like that future for you, Ryan.
Yeah, or alternate dimension. Okay, so in high school you discovered improv, and then you did theater, right? You did like a theater degree, correct?
I did a BA in majoring in drama, minoring in art and design, but really I minored in art history. Mm-hmm. And strangely, my family at the time, they were, and I think still, they were really big believers in like liberal arts education, which so few people believe in. Like everyone is like, why don't you specialize? Like, are you an actor?
Get a job thing.
Yeah, get a job or like be specific about what you want to do. And for me, I just really didn't know what I wanted to do. And so that was great. Like I got to study so many different topics and including drama, but then I got to do directing and I got
and you were with Rapid Fire when you were at theater school? Like you jumped into the Rapid Fire zone out of high school?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. So I think one cool thing about that is that I got to I did a tech program and I did directing and I did some writing and I did voice and I did acting. And and I think that is really interesting, like for an improviser to be able to, be like, oh, but I also understand some directing techniques or some playwriting techniques so that I can incorporate all those skills together.
Because it's all at once, right? That's what I always say. Like you're doing it all at once. You're directing, writing, and acting all at once. And so, to be able to have like another way in.
And in our case at like Little Mountain Gallery, it's like, we're also the techs.
Yeah. You had to also push buttons. Yeah. I had to do I did a BFA in acting and we had a theater tech credit we had to get, but it was like very loose. Like you had to the actors had to do like one tech thing per like their course. And like I was just like I swept things up and I barely worked. They should have I wish that's when I have a few regrets from school, a lot. And one of them was I wish I had paid more attention to tech class because I feel like that's so important for self-producing and stuff like that and just having your own dominion over your shows.
Yeah, I hated tech class so much though.
Hated it. I was like, when can I have the attention again?
My tech teacher, I remember him always saying the male part of the plug and the female part of the plug.
Right.
And that always made me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Even though it's just I understand that to how that term makes sense.
I get that that's a pretty good shorthand, but I
was always like, I hate him.
But also you don't need to necessarily say that because it's pretty obvious. It's just plug it in. You try one side, you can try the other. Anyways, so then when did you become the AD of this theater company, Rapid Fire Theater, the improv company that you started just improvising with out of high school?
Well, I was an associate AD.
Got you.
So I was kind of assisting the AD, who was Kevin Galise at the time. Mm. And I would do things I ran the school for a few years. And then Kevin moved to Atlanta to become artistic director at Dad's Garage Theater Company, which is another great improv theater.
And has a real kinship with Rapid Fire. Very, I discovered Dad's Garage through going to Dad's Garage. It sounds so Canadian. Dad's Garage. Through going to the Improvaganza festivals.
Yeah. So Kevin moved down there, and then there was definitely a moment of oh shit, someone has to run this ship.
Yeah.
And I was very resistant. I was like, oh, but not me. I think I was 25 or 26.
Wow.
No, I don't know how to run a company. We luckily had and have, I think she's still working there, but Karen Brown Fornell, their GM, longtime GM, she is a wizard with budgets and the money side of things, luckily, because if I had to do that, I would have become a lawyer.
I'm getting disbarred.
But I got to kind of take over the programming and the school, and it was Honestly, it was like the best job ever. I loved it. I loved doing it so much. And when I stepped away, it was because I was like, every year new people come into that company and people leave. Like Edmonton, some people stay there their whole lives, but it is very much like, especially if you want to do film or TV, it's a lot of people leave. And I think that's a shame, but it's just kind of the reality of the situation. And so every year Rapid Fire would be bringing new improvisers in. And on my 6th year, I was like, wow, I'm not giving these young improvisers the same quality and energy of direction that I was like my first few years.
Right.
Because the cycle, you just start to get kind of like jaded where you're like, I told you this already. And they're like, no, you didn't. So once I realized that, I was like, okay, I think it's a good time for me to step away. And I think like 5 or 6 years is a good, like, that's a good go at a job. And
100%. And I mean, like, I think I personally, and I'm going to say it, I think more that should be the mentality with artistic directors in the arts. I think it's good. It's good to turn things over. It's hard to, especially like, because I think like things can become very like routine, and like a job like that, it's like you said, it's a dream job. So, and like as performers and artists, we're like, you get a job, you're like, it's my job, like, you hang on to it. So like, but it's beautiful to turn it over, and especially with a company that has lots of new people coming in all the time, just to keep its evolution going, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. And leave it better than campsite rules. You leave it better than you found it. And
exactly.
Send it off the world. Wow, that was our best get to know you yet, right, Peter?
That was my favorite one.
Yeah, Taz was so standoffish. Caitlin was amazing, but we really went for it. That was a good one.
We just deleted those episodes.
Well, Twitch did. Okay, now we did some earnest stuff. Now we're going to do some fun stuff. Or like fun, Amy, fun. Like it's a palate cleanser. It could be stupid. But I'm on a website here, 149 questions, what to ask for an engaging conversation. So I'm just going to ask you some of these, okay? Okay. What's the best type of cheese?
Applewood smoked cheddar.
Okay, good. If peanut butter wasn't called peanut butter, what would it be called?
Nut spread.
Yeah, that's pretty good too. Oh, what skill or craft would you like to master? If you could just, I guess, like push a button, video game style, and you would like, you've mastered a skill or craft.
Sewing.
Yeah, sewing would be.
That's like the next, I don't know how to sew at all. That's the next frontier for me.
Garment construction would be so, because it's so complicated. Ugh. Well, I mean, for my mind, it's complicated. I think for others, it's who has a flair for it.
I have no idea.
That'd be great. What would you design first if you could sew anything?
Well, I always like end up spending like, I love buying like Canadian designers if I need a dress for something or whatever.
Cool.
And it's always like, $300 for like a simple cotton shift, like a sack.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't mean to diminish their work because they do amazing work. And I have no idea how hard it is to do that.
You're diminishing your bank account.
Yes. And I'm like, okay, if I could learn how to sew a pillowcase, I could make myself a dress.
There you go. Exactly.
Just like a sack, a muumuu.
I would make myself a nice pair of shorts, the perfect length, the perfect cut. Shorts are hard. You got to find very customizable shorts.
I don't want to think about darts. I just want to sew a sack. That's my goal.
Darts. Okay, a couple more here. Oh, what fact amazes you every time you think of it? Got one of those facts?
Oh.
I mean, a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Just like
for me, the fact that my brain makes me breathe.
Yeah, that's
fucked.
That's so fucked.
Yeah.
I know.
There's so many. Oh, Peter.
Sorry, I know it's not my interview, but I had one.
Okay, Peter. Well, sure, Peter. Yeah, it's not your interview, nor was it your question. But please go answer.
Okay, I'm just gonna like quickly Google it, but I believe there are more. There's more bacteria in the human and on the human body than there are cells in the human body.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
We're more like a hotel for bacterias.
We're a hotel for bacterias who who has some kind of stranger in our heads telling us when to breathe.
When to breathe.
Okay, good. That was fun questions. We'll go back to fun questions. I want to get into the. What did you not answer, Amy?
I didn't answer.
Oh, Amy, I'm sorry. I just wanted to move on from Peter's Bacteria Zoo Hotel.
Sorry
But
for
Amy,
the interrupting.
Please,
that was a better answer. But one thing that blows my mind is if I'm hiking or backpacking in the mountains and I take a step off the path, I always think, has anyone ever stepped right here before?
Oh,
like
that's good.
When you're in, like, you know, how much of the world has never been touched by humans?
Yeah, that's
amazing. Not a fact. That's just like a trippy thought.
But it's awesome. It's closing in on fact. You know, I think it's a fact.
Okay, good.
I think that's. I know. I reacted very positively, very strongly to that. Ooh, I said. Oh. I think about that with language too. Like you can one can string together a sentence that has probably never been said before.
Right.
You know, because of the words like the red balloon held by Mickey Mouse as he skateboarded through the channel with a hot dog became stupendous.
That's the first time that's ever been said.
Yeah.
And I think one great thing you did there, Ryan, is you put in the word channel.
Yes.
So that took like hundreds and thousands of years of history and was like,
strategically.
It didn't get said then. Yeah, narrowed it right down.
Really good strategy there to just go boom. Yeah. Oh, that made me laugh. Yes, I'm good at strategy. Okay, we're going to move on to our main topic, but we'll still bounce around. We'll still do more fun questions. I'll still do more sentences that have never been said before. Our first main topic, as I said before, was bombing and failure. And I say these because if you have something to say about any of the other main topics, we can always jump to that if our main topic kind of peters out. It's a cavalcade of main topics. Then we did, with Taz, we did suggestions, which is kind of an interesting conversation, like why do you take them? How do you take them? You know, what's a good one? What's a bad one? And then now I thought it would be fun to talk about improv festivals, because I know you have obviously run a few and also have been to many. And I have even just to share stories. I've been to a lot of very cool festivals, and improv festivals are all over the world. So I thought we could use that as our blanket topic for our main topic and just talk about our experiences and our thoughts on improv festivals. Amy, improv festivals, what's going on? Now, you've run the Improvaganza, which is the biggest in the continent?
You know, that fact gets thrown around. I think that's hard to prove.
Yeah. Because what does biggest mean? Like, what does big mean? Yeah.
For a while, I think it was biggest in Canada because it was the longest. Like when it first started, it was 2 weeks long, which is insane.
Right.
Now it's 10 days long, which is still pretty wild.
It's insane. And this is Improvaganza. Sorry, I should have. Improvaganza, run by Rapid Five Theater in Edmonton, Alberta, which Amy was the AD of for many years. That's right.
Yes.
So Ganza, it's called.
Yeah. So I organized that for 6 years, and then the last year, for the first time, I organized the Vancouver Improv Festival.
Yes.
So yeah, it was like my second go at a different festival in a different place. Yeah, very cool, very interesting.
And so what was the first festival you ever went to as a performer? You ever traveled to perform at?
Yes, I went, I'm going to say prematurely, to the Berlin Improv Festival, I should say Impro, I think it's called.
And Impro is like another way of saying improv, but European?
Yes, and Keith
English?
Johnstone.
Yeah, and Keith Johnstone, yeah.
And so I went to that festival in 2008, you know, and by our timeline, you might know that means I'd been improvising for 6 years, which, as we know, as, you know, people who have been doing it for, 15, 20 years now, it's like 6 years isn't that long.
It's fresh. I mean, it's pretty fresh still.
Some people are prodigies and are like amazing after a few years. I myself, more of a middle of the road kind of performer.
I had spurts, but it took me a while to be doing good long form improv.
Yes. And so I got sent to this festival. Actually, I think I got invited because I don't know I think I was already going to be in Europe. And so we had reached out from Rapid Fire and said, hey, like Amy's going to be around, like, can she come to the festival? And they wanted a woman at the festival. And I went, and it was like, all of my heroes, Jacob Bannigan and Lee White and Randy Dixon, were all in this ensemble. And it was an ensemble-based festival.
Right.
And I was just like in over my head.
Yeah.
And the director was Stephen Nachmanovich, who is a famous improv violinist.
What?
He wrote the book Free Play, which is a great book for improvisers to read. It's all about
Free Play.
Free Play. It's about improvising in a broader context, improvising in music, improvising in theater. It's really a cool exploration of that idea. And so he was directing the ensemble, and he's a musician. And so what we would do every day, we rehearsed for 8 hours a day, I think, or 6 hours a day. And we would do like droning vocal soundscapes.
Oh my gosh.
Like we would sit there with our eyes closed and just be like, and we do that for like hours and hours. And then from that, we kind of do these soundscapes, and then we break into scenes, and then we go back to the soundscapes. So it was very esoteric, and it was like, it was just so artistic. And so, I think that's a beautiful idea. And I think it may have worked at some point, but my friend Matt Sherman, who I mentioned earlier, he happened to be in Berlin at the same time, and he came to see a show. And afterwards he came up to me and he was like, that was the worst improv show. And I was like,
and were you lying on, like, when you were doing the droning, were you lying on the floor? Were you standing up?
For the
were you
show,
walking around?
For the show, we stood.
We stood. Okay.
In a line.
Yeah. And then you would feel the impulse and break into a scene out of the droning.
Yes, but it put everyone on their back foot, like no one was like thriving. Yeah. No one was like, this is the best. Everyone was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
And I remember like Jacob being such a positive force in it, because he was just like, it's improv. We get to do whatever we want. Like, don't be held a prisoner by this conceit we're working with. Like, we can do anything. Like,
right.
But I was just terrified. I mean, performing in a place with like, where language is more complicated, and performing with lots of older performers I'd never performed with before. And it was a wonderful experience, but it was also, I felt like I was like, in 3 more years would have been a great time to go.
Ensemble, and you mentioned it was an ensemble-based festival, so like people from around the world created an ensemble, worked with a director to produce shows.
Right.
And those are awesome, but yes, nerve-wracking, because like there's something thrilling, and also like when you start improvising with people you're just meeting, because there's something so familiar about improvising with people you like do with over and over and over again, but it can be very jarring. And I remember having a hard landings when I did ensemble festivals, and like beautiful lessons I had to learn, but can be like, 13 people who got thrown together by luck, kind of like producing theater together. What else did you do in Berlin in that first festival?
What else? I did a really fun, we did an all women's show that they always do. I don't know if they still do it at the festival, but basically it's like, it's an elimination show with women. I think it might be a musical show too. And I had never done a musical improv show before either. And I was terrified. And when you got eliminated, you got given this, it was like a chocolate rose that was filled with egg liqueur.
What?
And like egg liquor?
It was a rose with liquor in it.
It was like a big chocolate rose, and I think it had like a creamy liqueur in it that was just like egg based. Wow. And you had to eat it. And I also remember that being like, I didn't have the like confidence to like sell the sizzle, you know what I mean? So
yes.
And we got eliminated based on the audience all had flowers, like real live tulips or something.
Yeah.
And they threw them on stage when they liked something you did. And if you had the least flowers, then you had to eat this chocolate rose and you got eliminated. And I'm already coming in. I'm like a foreigner. I'm from Canada. So I'm already coming in with, I should be able to crush this. Like knowing that now, I'm like,
Yeah.
whenever you're the odd person out, no matter where you're traveling and you're improvising, people love you. They love
Right.
watching someone from a different place, like do their thing, especially when they know language is a challenge. But I didn't know that then. And I
Yeah.
just like sheepishly sucked and then didn't get enough flowers and then had to like unconfidently eat this like thing that's like oozing down my face in front of everyone.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was also so great. Like I
Yes. Because when you go to a festival like that, you feel like your experience points just by being around people and watching things and participating in whatever, workshop or performance. Like it goes boop, 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 boop.
yeah, and I
Um,
felt like so taken care of by especially like the Canadians that I was there with, like from all over the country who were just like, older than me, but we're just like, come on, like
yeah.
you're
Hey,
gonna be fine.
yeah, it's improv. It's improv, dude. Why do you think there's so many improv festivals? Why do you think that is? Why do you think improv? Do you have any theories about why improv lends itself to the festival format so well?
Well, I think, okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about I'm going to talk about a positive thing and then I'm going to talk about a more negative thing.
Love it.
I think one amazing thing, I know this is true when I was in Edmonton, and I think this is true here too. It's like having the opportunity for the local community to see groups from other places really like boosts morale and creates like inspiration in the local community. So
Right.
I know for a rapid fire, it was like every year after Improvaganza, people were like, oh my gosh, I didn't know improv could be like that. I didn't know it could be more dramatic, or I didn't
Right.
know you could do a show like by yourself. Like everyone's minds were always blown by the groups we
Yes.
were bringing in.
Yes.
So I think that's like one really positive part of the festival circuit is that like the locals get to train with and see shows that they wouldn't normally get to see. Um, why are there so many? Well, I think there's a couple things here. One is like there's different styles of festivals. You already mentioned like an ensemble based festival. In Europe, it's really common to bring like people that we would consider like instructor level people to teach a lot. So it's more teaching focused. And then shows are kind of secondary to the teaching.
Right.
And for those festivals, they often like pay your flight, pay you to teach, give you food, give you a place to stay. And then there's a bunch of festivals in the States that are like, you pay your own way to go, you pay the application fee. And like the Vancouver Improv Festival is kind of a mix. We have some money to give to some people, and then some people just come on their own dime. And so I think on one hand, it's like if people are coming to just perform and they're paying their own way, it's pretty easy to organize a festival.
Yeah.
To be like, yeah, my town needs a festival.
Right.
Or
Right.
my improv school needs to run a festival, even though the other improv school in town does, or
Right.
whatever. And I don't know that always, leads to the best curation and quality of work.
Mhm.
But I think just like any improv organization, it's important to have like a point or like a focus for your festival.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes,
Like
I
a
don't know,
mandate, a motto, a
yeah,
raison d'etre.
like Smash Festival here in Vancouver, like run by
Totally.
many amazing ex-blind tiger peeps and current blind tiger peeps. They focus on centering like women and non-binary performers, and it's like that's great. That's a
Ugh,
great mission.
totally.
And with the Vancouver Improv Festival, we've really tried to be like, we want variety and we want the best quality we can
Mhm.
get. But I don't know about you, but I've been to a few festivals in the States where there's like 100 acts. Like,
Yes. All against each other, all like performing against each other. It feels like there's no fostering of any kind of like mandate, reason d'etre. Like, it just feels like everyone's here, figure it
it's kind
out.
of like a big festival, but then I feel like the audiences can be really stretched thin. You have like, you're performing for 10 people, you paid your own way.
Yes.
And then you're kind of like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So I think that's like a really, and I totally understand like the financial side of running a festival is like so intense.
Mhm.
So I find that like striking that balance is really tricky.
if you could, right now, money was no object. It's just fun hypothetical. What if you could run any improv festival? Like, right, you could just like snap your fingers and you would be running it. Like, do you have like a niche improv festival you would want to run? Like, like you see like a duo improv festival or a musical improv festival, or would it just be sort of like getting an ensemble festival on steroids with the amount of workshop people you could bring in? What would you do?
I have a taste for the esoteric.
Ah,
I would probably like to have an experimental improv festival.
oh, cool. Yes.
Where it's like we're not doing Armandos, we're not doing tap edits. We're only doing new things or things that we think really push the envelope. Like,
very cool.
I don't exactly know what that is, but maybe like some using projection or doing a whole show backwards, or like I love that stuff. And at Rapid Fire, we had a festival called the Bonfire Festival.
Cool.
It started off really, and I think it is still really experimental, but I'd love to have a festival that embraces performers that are doing the weirder stuff.
Yeah. Or also would want to discover the weirder stuff, like you said. Like, you don't know what all that is yet, but like if you got a bunch of like-minded people, like, in a room for a week and said, you can only do new things.
I mean, I love that. That's the thing that keeps me interested in improv is like, what's the edge of this? Like,
to be.
It has to be that. Or what's a new thing I can do with this game? Or, that's what keeps me motivated. And so I would love to do that.
I think that's a really very good. I was trying to think of a fancy word for good. I couldn't think of it. That's a very good point. And I think that's something that I would have liked to have had in my head from as a younger performer, to like always look for the new thing, always look for the edge a little bit. When you get comfortable, it's good, but like looking for like what's beyond that. Because I think as performers, we get comfortable maybe for too long sometimes. Personally, as opposed to like always be like snappy, looking around for what's new. Well, that was fun. Any final thank you for nodding at my like, hey, you gotta do what's new. Any final thoughts on improv festivals or things to share? Maybe if like people who might be thinking about applying to festivals, any like final thoughts on improv festivals? Because we did a pretty good.
Definitely. Well, one thing I'd say is just like, I know this used to happen sometimes with Improvaganza, and it was so fun. Like, you can carpool with your friends to go watch a festival. Like, that is so fun. If you're like a new improviser and you're like, oh, we're not ready to apply. It's like, go down for the weekend, watch the festival, buy a pass, take some workshops. You'll see
introduce yourself,
introduce yourself, hang out, and you'll just see so much amazing improv that'll inspire you and like maybe push you to take that next step. And then if you are applying, the big thing is just like video. Like, get good video of your troupe or yourself. If you're applying for an ensemble, make sure you have like a few examples of you doing unedited sets of 20 minutes or whatever, because to be honest, that's the worst part of curating a festival.
Right.
Is watching
bad
video, like the sound is bad, and
you're trying to focus, you're trying to like see through the text,
or like there's a video with like 6 people in it and you don't know who you're supposed to be watching, and you're like, is it that person, because
there's 3 stinkers and 3 good ones. Who do I know?
So just those would be my 2 pieces of advice. Like, go to a festival, and also good video.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Amy. Peter?
Yes?
Are there any questions from the chat?
Oh, boy, are there.
Are there really?
Yeah, here's a quick starter.
Okay, we're going to go right to the questions from the chat. Sorry. Thank you for that, Amy, on improv festivals. We can, if you have any further question on improv festivals, you can email me, Ryan, at thefacultyhour.gmail.com. That doesn't exist. Okay, so Peter, what are some questions from the chat for either me or Amy or both of us?
I almost jumped the gun there. Sorry about that. Yeah, so here's a good one to get started. The funniest improv group name you've ever heard of. And I thought you could spin that off into also what makes a good improv group name. Give us some tips.
That's great. What's the funniest improv group name you ever can remember?
That's a tough one.
I have a few. Okay. This one it's not the funniest, but like I was judging an improv tournament when I was far too young to be doing it. Like I was like 18, I was judging like full-grown adults, and I thought I knew better. In the Vancouver Little Theater, and there was a group called May Contain Nuts, which I reference all the time because I think it's like, I know it's cliche, but it's right to the point. It's like, may contain nuts because they're wacky.
Yeah, I feel like it's always like an animal.
Yes.
Those are your
well,
favorite
Alistair
ones?
Cook made up a Laffy Giraffe, which I
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Laffy Giraffe was
Laffy
good.
Giraffe, and then people always talk about drama panda. They always say there's two types of improvisers. There's a Laffy Giraffe, like a giggly little mischief maker,
Me.
Orion,
Yeah.
and then there's a drama panda, which I think I'm more of a drama panda.
I
What's
think
a
you straddle both worlds.
What's a drama panda? What is
you're
that?
You're a bit of a
It's like-
Laffy panda.
It's like the improviser, a drama panda would be someone who's super serious.
Yeah.
And it's like never corpses, is
Oh.
just, yeah.
What do
I
you
love
think
that.
makes a good improv troupe, team, company name? It's hard, eh? How do you even
It's
answer
so
that question?
hard.
Yeah.
Have you guys already
Like-
talked about where Blind Tiger came from?
That came from just a long discussion of everyone like throwing out names because when we made Blind Tiger, we wanted something that sounded enticing, but also wasn't like the Improv Corporation, like that sort of. It was just a long discussion basically, and like eventually we found one that sort of elicited positive feedback from everyone, and we went from there. But it could be anything, right? Like band names, hard.
Yeah. And like Blind Tiger means like a speakeasy, right?
It's a speakeasy. Yes, a
Oh.
speakeasy from. So there was some imagery behind that was
That's
kind
cool.
of interesting to making it sort of a fun, hip.
Was
You
there
gotta
a,
know someone to get into the
right? Yeah,
speakeasy.
it gives it that exclusivity. Was there a second place? Was there something like they were like, oh, it's either Blind Tiger or it's
Ryan's comedy. No, I was pushing and wrong. So I like academy. I like the word academy in anything. I like being able to say I've been to an academy. I teach at an academy. I'm the headmaster at an academy. It's that Wes Anderson kind of vibe.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And you have little
what
crests.
else we got in the chat there, Peter?
Oh, we got more. This one maybe it's like could be a two-parter because I feel like you already, Amy, talked about how improv comedy changed you or made you. But then also folding it into, do you have any advice for anyone taking improv for the first time?
Yeah. I think my advice would be like, be curious, be curious why you're doing an exercise. Like, don't
That's so
discount
cool.
something because you've done it before. Take every note that the teacher says to everyone as a note for yourself. Don't just because when the teacher gives a note about a scene, think about how that applies to you. Like, I often have students that come up and say like, I need more personal feedback. And I always say like, I'm giving feedback all the time. Like, and just because I don't say, Ryan, here, this is for you, which I do also, but when a scene ends and it's like, oh, that was just we lost our way midway through the scene, or we started off with low energy or whatever, like those are notes for everyone.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point.
Love that.
And also just to build off that, like, watch, like use your watching time too. Like just like what you just said, sort of thing. Like watch people perform and think about things that you'd like to try that they do,
Right.
Like it's not, you're not only doing the workshop when you're on stage or getting a personal note, like the work, it's all happening all at once. It's a great,
totally.
that's really good.
That's awesome.
Be curious for sure. Hell yeah. Also don't try to be funny. It's just, that's something I've had to remind myself in every workshop. Just,
oh yeah.
Like just be simple and like, try to put yourself in the moment as opposed to try to perform. I guess to say more broadly, don't try to perform.
That's easily my biggest weakness.
Yeah. Okay, what else, Peter?
All
Got
right.
time for a few more.
Okay, we got two more here. I like this one a lot. Amy, how do you like to get ready for a show? What's that pre-show routine?
Ooh, spicy Q. Yeah. So this is again, like we were talking earlier about the edge.
Yes.
This is one of my big questions in improv. It's like, for so long or for so many years, I was always blaming things that I did before a show on a bad show. Like, oh, I didn't get time to eat dinner, so that's why I had a bad show. Or I didn't have time to do my pre-show like makeup and hair routine. So that's probably why I wasn't feeling confident. That's why I had a bad show. And I find pre-show rituals to be so interesting. What people need, you know, some people need that like big group warm-up. Some people need to be alone. For me, I've tried to really embrace this thing that one of my clown teachers said, which is basically like, you're as ready for this moment as you could possibly be. You know, like nothing you did today or this week could have changed how this show is going to go. So just enjoy this, whatever it is, whether it's the worst show you've done or the best show you've done. And so what I do, which is very strange, I stand backstage, I stare, I try and find a light. It could be a stage light or a backstage light. I stare into the light. I take a deep breath, and in my head I say, I'm as ready for this moment as I could possibly be. And then I take another breath, and then I just do it.
I like that.
That is worth the price of admission.
You stare right into a bulb?
I'm glad I listened to that. That's awesome. Not the light bulb thing sounds cool, but just like you're as prepared as you could possibly be. So enjoy the show you're about to do. Yes, that's a beautiful sentiment.
And then does it like burn your eyes?
Yeah,
Peter wants to know about the light
strange,
stuff.
It's just strange. You know what? Rituals are strange, and my
They are.
ritual is not practical because sometimes when I go on stage, I can't see because I've like, it's just like, you know.
Rituals are not practical. That's the thing about rituals.
Yeah.
They're not about practicality.
That's a good thing to say.
Our last question.
All right, the last question here. Any book recommendations, improv and non-improv? Welcome.
We had that one already. Do you remember
We
what
did?
you stated?
Yeah, Free Play by Stephen
Play.
Nachmanovich.
Oh my goodness, sorry, I missed that.
It's good.
Mhm.
I love both of Mick Napier's books.
Totally.
Improvise. The first one's called Improvise, and the second one's called, I can't remember.
Can't remember.
Both of his books are really great. He's very direct in his voice, which I really enjoy. What would you say,
Good.
Ryan?
That's good. I mean, improv is for storytellers is like it's worth looking at if like the exercises are interesting. I mean, if you've never tasted Johnstonian improv, it's kind of a fun read. I think it's almost, but I don't know. That's it at the moment that comes to mind.
Yeah, I would say like those like Improv for storytellers and Spolin's like theater games.
Yes.
They're great. Like I learned so much from reading them, and I teach with a lot of the exercises in them. But I'd say in terms of like what really, you know, gets me up in the morning, it's probably the Napier book.
Yeah, I like his writing style for sure. It
connects
with, especially to get it off the page and put it on your feet. Amy, this has been so fun. Thank you so much. You're so easy to talk to. You're so sage and wise and fun. And you're anything you want to plug? The weekly dose, is that something people can tune into and like participate in?
Absolutely. It's every Wednesday at 5:30. It's a drop-in, so you can come one Wednesday and not come the next. It's $10. If money's an issue, get it Blind Tiger. How it works is I send out an email usually on Monday with 3 videos to watch of improv, like live improv shows. You watch those, and there's a theme much like this interview. And our theme for this week is character, and our theme for next week is game of the scene.
Awesome.
You watch the videos, then you come to a Zoom meeting, and we just discuss like what we noticed, what moves we saw. It's extremely nerdy. I say that at the beginning of every one. Like, you got to be an improv nerd to really love it.
Well, and for sure. But in this time of keeping our distance, I think that's such a lovely way to be able to, just keep the vibe going, keep like your hooks in improv, and like have a little shop talk like we used to. What I like about this show is it's like sort of trying to recreate the vibe of just coming to Little Mountain Gallery for a student show and finding other like-minded people to hang out with.
Totally. Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Thank you, Amy. Give it up for Amy in the chat. This will be available on the YouTube channel for time in memoriam. And Peter, you were great. And we've been trying to do this for 3 episodes. We're going to see if we can play the outro now. Peter, are you ready to go?
We're ready to end the show.
Okay. Well, this has been the Faculty Hour with Amy Shostak. I'm Ryan Beil, and Peter, play the song.